Regal Movie Masters. Unlimited.
This is the Regal Movie Masters Unlimited podcast where we indiscriminately watch every goddamn movie that comes out at the local theater. True to our name today. Jeez, we got a lot of movies. But before we get into that, your movie masters today are Justine.
Hi.
Brent.
Hello.
Dylan.
What's up?
And I'm Colin. We're staring down the barrel of like 7.5 movies. I don't know what this is. Are we getting like dumped? Is this like the season of just putting stuff out and seeing what sticks?
What if this is the new pace?
Oh boy. I think I went to the theater 5 or 6 times this week. I forgot, and I'm still like 3 movies behind. This is a rough one, but we're gonna be getting into SISU, Polite Society, Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret, The Covenant, Somewhere in Queens, Black Demon, and the Return of the Jedi to the theater. Whew. I should mention I've been watching more media about movies.
Oh no!
Like other reviewers and stuff.
Okay.
They all tell people that they have spoilers, so I'm going to start saying that now. That if you're listening to this podcast somehow, this is your first episode. Hi, thanks. We're going to assume all these movies are getting spoiled. I think that's fair to say. I don't know why I feel the importance, 20 episodes in to start lead with that, but it seems okay. Also, in terms of leading with things, we do have an email. You can contact us. We are moviemasters760@gmail.com. Moviemasters, plural, 760@gmail.com. Any questions, comments, movie suggestions, things of that nature, hit us up. We like talking to people only through email. Email, the classic model. There's an ampersand. No, not an ampersand. What's the at symbol?
At.
What do they call it?
At-Sans.
There's not a fancy word for it? The at symbol. If there's an at symbol in it, we can talk to you. Last week was hectic with Bo. I think we had a really long conversation about that. That might be the most we've talked about a movie, but it felt very good, like processing it. Have you guys been keeping up with the Bo is Afraid discourse online?
I haven't.
Yeah, I kind of been like watching reviewers and stuff just because I'm kind of
Obsessed.
a little, but more so just like
Intrigued.
Am I crazy? I want to just see like other people's opinions on
I
stuff.
think you personally, and me too, probably everybody here, but wants to see it do well.
Right.
When you like a movie, you really want to see it succeed.
Well, it's just I've just always had a weird fixation with people's opinions about stuff. Like I want to know like what the vibe is on something. Do I love this movie that's hated? Do I hate this movie that's loved? Are people watching this? Is this a phenomenon?
I think it's just fandom, right?
I guess so.
Yeah.
I'm interested in what other
fine.
people are interested in, and that's strange. So I've been watching a lot of stuff like that. Dylan, you watched the movie again.
Yeah. I saw Bo is Afraid again with a friend. 2 friends. And I saw them again today, 2 days later, and they were both still confused about what the movie was like about. They were like, I don't understand really like why stuff happened, and I was like trying to explain the best I could,
Right.
but also I'm me.
Yeah.
Were they talking about that because they're still thinking about it? Or
Yeah, they were still
Okay.
trying to break it down in their
Yeah.
head, like why any of that stuff happened, because they were like
cool.
I understood like the story time part, but then they just erased it by saying he couldn't have kids anyway, so what was the whole point? And I was just like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think it's the kind of movie you like wrangle, but obviously I've gotten all my points out on that in the last we were talking about it for
The last week.
Yeah. Let's start with the movies. We're leading with Sisu, directed and written by Jalmari Halander, Finnish film, and it stars Jorma Tomila as Atami. I would like to call him Sisu, but it's not. Sisu is like they say in the beginning of the movie. It's like, this unstoppable force that builds up in a person when they're, down and on their luck.
It's like you do what you got to do.
Yeah, when the chips are down, but it can only be brought out when you're at your lowest point, right?
Is that what it says in the beginning?
Yeah.
Yep. It's a white-knuckled sort of effort that you can only channel when there's nothing left to lose.
Yeah, so this follows the tale of a Finnish gentleman. It's about Nazi occupation in Finland in the 40s, and they're like kind of on their last leg. They're leaving the country and kind of fucking up everything behind them, as they're wont to do. And they come across this fella, this gold miner.
Mm-hmm.
It's a new profession for him, but yeah, he's retired after killing 300 plus Russians in the war. He decided to just get a horse and a dog and go find some gold. And
the Nazis, as they're leaving the country, come across this guy. They are just messing with him to mess with him, but then they see that he has gold, and they're like, "Oh, we're going to take his gold." And in a sense, I almost feel like it's like a reverse slasher. Is that fair to say? Because they're hunting him.
Yep.
To get his gold.
And they get killed.
Yeah, and they're getting murked as they go along by him.
Yeah.
So technically they are the predators by all means, but little do they know that the prey has fangs, and he's getting them back. And, they want the gold because they're just like, okay, our days are numbered. It's not looking too good for the Third Reich here. Let's take this gold, and we could actually have a life after this. Mm-hmm. So their motivations are in place. Sisu, I think, See, I see calling him that. He's not.
Oh, they don't really say his name.
His name is Koshai the Immortal.
Oh, Kocha? Koshai. All right. I could say Koshai. I read it differently on the internet, but I think it's Koshai is what they'll call him. So Koshai is like he wants to keep his gold. That's his motivation. Yeah. And it goes on like that. Brent, you really like this movie.
I loved it.
Yeah.
Good runtime. It was under 90 minutes. It's also just I like watching Nazis get killed. Sorry, and this one delivered on its promise. There was new ways of killing Nazis that I never considered or have ever seen on screen before. So that was exciting. That minefield scene. Yeah. My God, there's just a lot of innovative violence. I think Dylan will love it because it's exceptionally brutal violence, and it just keeps going and going and going because they have to beat Koshai down to a level to where Sisu, the phenomenon, comes forward. And he also has to get his revenge. And there's ladies in this film that need to get their revenge too. I was screaming in that movie. I loved watching it. I loved we talked before like about movies that are like made for us. This one was definitely made for me because you got the nice sprawling outdoors. You got a guy that's with a dog and just doing his thing, and then somebody messes with them, and then you kind of they got to pay for it.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to shake off the John Wick comparisons, particularly because of the dog.
They marketed it that way too.
Yeah, it is a guy and his dog, and they mess with him, and he gets his revenge. And they're even like the Russians. They have a word for him, and I'm like, oh. This is the Baba Yaga. Come on, man.
Right,
I've seen this before. But there's a lot of, I couldn't shake the Mad Max or Fury Road elements too, because you got roadside, a lot of road stuff going on.
And like I was saying, that's precisely how they're marketing it. Like if you're on social media and you're getting ads for this, it's John Wick meets Fury Road.
They're saying that?
Yeah, I'll show it to you when we're done.
Okay, well then, that's very much so truth in
Colin,
advertising.
You are as calibrated as it gets, my
friend.
There
we go. See, maybe I'm right. I don't need to be looking at people's opinions about things online because I can just I could apparently
turns out you're
exactly
media literate, my friend.
I wasn't. I felt like I should have been more into this movie. Mm-hmm. Like I didn't dislike it by any means, but it was kind of so like Fury Road and John Wick. I think I might have needed some characterization. Because it's like they do a lot of stuff to make you dislike the Nazis, and it's like, I was kind of
that needed to be established.
I was kind of in before, but then they they have to show them being, on top of Nazis also being dicks. So it's like, I was kind of sold on like wanting these guys murked to begin with.
Yeah.
But they don't really do a lot for Sisu, and to go back to like a Fury Road, like there's certain things that Tom Hardy will do that'll like endear you, the viewer, to the character. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I just saw like a lot of Sisu keep calling him that.
Whatever.
Koshai just getting wrecked. Like that's just kind of his characterization is he's like tough. That's it.
Like supernaturally.
Yeah, it has like a huge health bar.
Yeah, really.
So he's got like good enemies and stuff, but he's not really motivated by anything other than like, I want to keep the money that I found on the ground.
Yeah.
Which, hey, to be honest though, that's a lot of people's motivation in this life.
Right. And like, at least me and Justine were kind of right because we saw it ourselves. And it's like, man, it would have been cooler if he was like hoarding the money. You know, he needed to get the money to pay for either the war effort to like, you know, murk more Nazis or, you know, save something, but they didn't really say what the money was for.
They just show him out in a field panning, and then he finds a very shallow gold vein and kind of pickaxes it out.
Yeah, bust
and
it up.
then it's just like, now he has all this gold. By the end, you think, oh, he's going to use it for something. Nope.
He just takes it to a bank and is like,
I want
money
this
me,
in
please.
money.
Interesting. That didn't even occur to me that he was going to use it for something. To me, it was just like, I don't know, war is hell. You know what I mean? And if you're going to like put yourself through that hell, you deserve to be compensated. You know, even if it's by your own efforts.
But he wasn't, he was specifically like not involved in the war.
Yeah.
Which is also the other weird thing. It's like, bro, if the Nazis aren't going to get you,
No.
Nazis in your own backyard aren't going to get you to like be a soldier when you have all these skills, especially.
It's a weird character.
Wait, so he
because-
killed 300 on his own?
Well, that was in the previous war with the Russians. This was like World War II. And it's like, the movie starts out as like, he left the war behind.
Yeah.
But it's like,
He decided he didn't want to fight Nazis.
yeah, far be it from
Wait, so what was he doing during this war? Nothing?
He was
Fought
out
looking
in
for
the middle of
gold.
nowhere.
Okay.
Yeah, and the middle of nowhere was fine until the Nazis rolled through.
And then it's like he doesn't even care what they do. He was
so
just
it's like-
gonna pass by them. But
So it's like Colin Farrell in Banshees when he's just like, the war's over there.
Yeah.
I'm on my island.
Yeah,
I'm drinking a
it's-
pint.
except
All right.
like so
So then the only time that he wants to kill him is because they took his gold. And he's not killing him because he just doesn't like him. He's killing him because he's trying to get the gold that they won't give him.
Fucking
Yeah.
right.
so I mean,
So did you go into this movie expecting more than a dude killing Nazis?
not especially, but here's my follow up. If there's not like characterization moments or like a plot or like little things that like you know, like maybe make it a little more bonkers. Like here's I think my big complaint, if there's a big complaint, is like not enough Nazis getting killed, because you'll see how many we just again got out of like John Wick 4 where it was just like body count,
Well,
nuts.
Quality. It's not the quantity. It's the quality. Like the way that he killed those first 7. Whoo. Art.
Yeah, I guess I just wanted like kind of a more intense pace. And that's where I kind of bring up the slasher thing, because kind of like in a slasher movie, it's not like a huge body count. It's like 7 campers and they get picked off. And this is like one Nazi battalion and they all get picked off. So there's a lot of downtime between the kills. And I think that, you know, there's a pro and con there, but I feel like maybe some of that downtime we could have had it padded out with some of the characterization and stuff.
Yeah. I kept thinking they were going to do like a flashback or something that would make you know what was going on with this guy, like so that you could kind of care more about him. It felt a lot to me like, okay, I'm watching a guy and he's killing people, but I don't care about him. If he died at any point in that movie,
which it seemed like he would have, because there's a lot of like
there's a lot of times where he should have died and you would have been like, oh well, you know, I guess they're going to talk about someone else now, because you don't really care about him as a character. I guess if you just are kind of like, oh, I'll just see what he does to these people. I don't know. It wasn't very interesting. Like, I mean, it's nice to look at, I guess, but
Dylan, there's a fucking part where this dude needs to get on a plane, right? But the plane is already taking off. So he takes his fucking pickaxe and he slams it into the front of the plane and he holds on to it while the plane is flying through the fucking air. Then there's a point where the plane has turbulence and it shakes him loose. So he just slams the fucking pickaxe into the back wheel, and then he decides to just fucking like beat his way into the plane, and then he fights the last 2 Nazis. Dude, this shit is tight. I can't wait for you to see it.
And so I think like if they're gonna have shit like that going on, then maybe go all in on it.
Yeah, see that there's like there's stuff that's like, oh, this is cartoonish.
Yeah.
But then the rest of the movie is just like kind of slow, and They call him like the immortal, and it's like, okay, but then but he's a guy, but he's
Right.
getting messed up
Yeah.
and just kind of stitching himself back together like a predator. And then, but everybody else is normal. So it's kind of, it's like less interesting because it doesn't seem like there's high stakes.
Dylan, there's this other fucking sick ass part where it's like there's like all this smoke, right? And the smoke hasn't quite cleared, and they're in a fucking minefield, and the Nazis are coming at Koshai the Immortal. And fucking Koshai the Immortal, he times it right so that as this Nazi like finally sees him, a fucking mine from the ground hits him in the head and it just blows him into a million pieces. Only 7 Nazis died in that scene, but I would say probably 156 body parts are just flying all over the screen. You're going to love this shit, dude.
Yeah, so then they walk through a minefield and nobody blows up.
Yeah, it was like there was just a little speed bump there or something.
Yeah.
Oh, the
but
horse
it was
blew
like,
up.
"Wait, how many mines did you put on?" All of them. Okay, well, Sisu used 5. And now we're having, because we have girls walking in front of the caravan, now there's 0. So that's what I mean by like, it's cartoonish, but then it's like real. And then you just kind of have to be like, whatever, it's fine.
Yeah, and I think to go back to the question, like, what did I expect from the movie? I did feel like I wanted more of a power fantasy. Like,
Go on.
I kind of, well, no, that's just it. I mean, when the movies like this, like a John Wick, to an extent, a Mad Max Fury Road, it is like huge body count. You are this immensely tougher than everyone figure. You know, the viewer are identifying with the good guy who's just like, yeah, just super powered, you know, and just like racking up inhuman body counts. And it wasn't really that. And there's a trade-off there, right? Because then it's more grounded and it doesn't, you know, veer into the completely silly camp. But then there's a lot of silly moments in it. So I didn't quite get that like fix that I would get in like a John Wick movie.
Yeah.
But, you know, I don't know, maybe that makes for a more grounded experience. But then there's also gallons of CGI blood that throw up at the screen when the tread of a tank rolls over a guy. So maybe you don't get lost in the silliness of it. Maybe it like grounds you a little bit. I mean, there's a trade-off there. But yeah, I'd be lying if I said I like was in love with it. But it was, you want to see a bunch of Nazis get killed in Finland by an old bearded guy who's like silent through the whole film. What was that? I couldn't remember the name of that Nick Cage movie we watched.
Oh, Willy's Wonderland.
Yeah, kind of same thing, right?
Hell yeah.
Where he's just like a wordless character. It's tough to do a wordless character, but that's where the Mad Max thing comes in because Tom Hardy barely says anything in that movie, but he still has lots of like
same with John Wick.
Moments.
Just goes, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dylan, there's a fucking part where like, okay, so like the Nazis, they get in this boat because like fucking Koshai goes underwater, you know, to like I think to try to escape the they're shooting at his ass. So like he goes underwater, and then like the Nazi boss is like, hey, guys in the boat, I need you to dive one by one and get his ass out of the water. They fucking go in the water, and Koshai just stabs their ass underwater. I can't wait for you to see this,
Well,
and I hope to get a full report from you next week.
He stabs them underwater and then sucks the air out of their throat.
Yeah.
That's the important part, so that he can stay underwater a long time. I do
Dylan
like that
is
part.
like, just this is a movie for Dylan. I can't wait.
I think that was the coolest part.
Yeah, where he's sucking air out of their throat, right?
It's so cool.
And to
Sonic.
be fair, he kills like 8 Nazis.
Oh, it
And
was
then
more
the
than-
girls kill
Oh.
like 12 Nazis.
Credit where credit's due. Yeah.
Yeah.
He arms them.
Yes.
He facilitates.
Yeah.
I think in the NBA they call it an assist.
Yeah.
Not that I'm a sports guy.
He
But,
gives them an assist.
There's visual poetry too. Like for instance, when like the truck slams on the brakes, the cannon on the front of the tank penetrates the back of the. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like they got some
No,
degree of
it's-
art going on.
I'm lightweight shitting on the movie, maybe high key shitting on the movie even, but it's visually inventive. I understand, like if you're into like elevated genre films, this is that.
Yeah.
I can't shake the Tarantino. It's like Tarantino
Rodriguez.
does
Yeah.
Mad Max John Wick.
Yeah, right down to the yellow titles.
Yeah,
the
there's
chapters.
titles,
Yeah.
there's chapters. The font gets more messy. It's like I don't know, the Western music,
right?
Kind of weird in this context.
I'm a mark for that shit, so I was obviously in a happy place.
Yeah.
So yeah, overall, I think this is going to be a theme. This one, I'm not even going to say it. Are you going to do this or that this time around? I'm just going to say, for me, if you saw the trailer and it seemed like a cool movie, and you said it seemed like a movie you'd like, I will give this a honest trailer. This is an honest trailer.
I didn't see the trailer. Well, maybe I did. I don't know.
You were present during it. You might not have like.
Yeah, I think it was kind of like, oh yeah, there's a guy and he, revenge.
Yeah.
Guy's good at killing, revenge movie. Got it. And then I was like, oh, it's World War II. Okay, I thought it was much earlier. And this wasn't what I expected at all. I didn't hear it.
Really?
I didn't know about the John Wick and whatnot comparisons and stuff. It looks really nice. Of course, it's like out in nature, so that's cool. Yeah, I don't know. I cannot say I was entertained. I think that's a problem. Yeah, but this is just not my thing. Where I love John Wick because I love choreography and I love thinking like, yeah, here's a normal man who is just really good at what he does. And this was like, it lacked choreography.
Right.
It had kind of like explosions and stuff, but it didn't. There was no like skill, I guess, involved. It was kind of like, here's a guy who he's like a survivalist, but he's not like a skilled guy, So it was fine. I would pass on watching it again, but again, like, yeah, if you like the kind of explosion stuff and I don't know, the wilderness, then it's cool.
Maybe more plains than wilderness, but
Yeah,
I like the plains.
it was a really nice river
Yeah.
too.
That's
Nice
beautiful
scenery.
river. Yeah. Yeah, I obviously really enjoyed the movie thoroughly. I knew exactly what I was getting into,
Right.
and it delivered exactly what I anticipated with a few added wrinkles. I like that Dylan hasn't seen it because I can be excited for something this week knowing that he will get to see it. He's been, like, you've heard him on this podcast say, I love excessive violence. I like when it goes a little too far. This movie the kills go a little too far.
Yeah, but I think he also, since we're going to talk about him like he's not in the room,
Yeah.
I think he said Renfield wasn't like violent enough for him.
I think this is going to scratch the itch.
You were setting him up to never watch this movie.
I know. And then, yeah, the bit is going to be that he never watches it. It's like, I'll watch it next week.
Dylan, what do you think of the film?
Well, as a guy that watched it,
Clearly.
I liked it a lot. The setting was beautiful. I like how they killed Nazis. And, I'm sad that horse died. Glad the dog is alive. Sucks about the horse still. Was it a Nazi horse?
Hell no. It was a beautiful,
Well, damn, that
beautiful
sucks.
steed.
Yeah, that was kind of a drag.
Also, everyone, if you guys
That was hard.
if you guys are wondering why I'm not talking, we put out a vote. I don't know if you guys saw our Twitter, and we put
Our Twitter.
who's your least favorite member, and it was me. And so since we listened to you guys, the fans, this will be a Dylan free episode.
I don't know what's more absurd here.
The fact that we would have a Twitter.
The Twitter that
In
says who's your
2023.
least favorite person.
This is fishing for compliments. I'm not going to.
No, this is a Dylan free ep.
He's asking for emails.
He wants an email saying Dylan's my favorite character.
My sincere apologies, everyone that wanted to hear my opinion on any of these movies. I just got caught up in some stuff.
Sounds like you got a DUI.
He got mixed up in some incidents.
Nah, I just had a friend come over.
Polite Society is a movie written and directed by Nida Manzoor. She did a Peacock original streaming show called We Are Lady Parts, which now I'm interested in watching because, a spoiler, I really like this movie. You got Priya Kansara and Railu Arya. She was in the Umbrella Academy and the upcoming film Barbie.
Oh, is she?
Yeah, she will be, presumably, based on what IMDb says. So, anywho, those two play sisters, and the older sister is going to be wed to a boy who the younger sister doesn't approve of, and she's looking for dirt on the groom. And, it's sort of like a lot of mishaps and misadventures, her trying to find it. See, I call this a Burbs premise, where someone is like the movie The Burbs, where someone's like suspicious of something and everyone's like, you're crazy, they're normal. And then eventually they don't find any dirt and they're like, you're right, they are normal. And then boom, it turns out they're freaky. I think in reality, that's Rear Window.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's the first one, but that would be probably
That would be the
big one.
The most known one.
But you know, us real cinephiles know it.
Yeah, everybody else, the Burbs. The real one's known as the Burbs.
Yeah, as a Burbs premise. But that said, I think that it's not so much about the plot. That's not the main appeal here, as it is the way it's shot. It's like has a lot to do with the two families that the movie's about are these Pakistanis living in the UK. Thus, there's a lot of like Bollywood elements in terms of like dance and choreography, to bring that one up again, and kung fu movies and stuff. So there's like a lot of like one of the younger sisters, she wants to be a stunt person, and so you know she's doing fight stuff all the time. And anytime if like she's having a fight with a school bully, for instance, it turns into this big affair where she's jumping off of walls and doing spin kicks and stuff. And so is the bully
again that are like Khan versus Kovac or whatever, and then they fight.
Have you two seen Scott Pilgrim versus the World?
This is a lot like that. I haven't, but this is a lot like that, right?
This is that, but yeah.
Yeah, I thought that while I was. I also have not watched that, but I was like, oh, this is Scott Pilgrim Girls.
Yeah, but I think it also has more geared towards these different genre movies or something.
Mm-hmm.
I would say this movie also has a touch of that movie Ready or Not, where you're marrying into something that is more diabolical than what you anticipate, and you got to get out of it, through violence.
Yeah.
But like the reason I say Scott Pilgrim is because it's a pretty normal and anticipated like teen drama type situation, right? But extreme violence punctuates it, and that's definitely present in Scott Pilgrim. I think that was this would be like what you would reference because it pulls so much of that DNA from it.
Yeah, I think if you took a lot of the stylization on the film out, like just the bare bones script would probably be boring.
Oh, absolutely.
Or an episode of a TV show or something.
I'm glad you said that because when I was watching it, I just got out of it, minutes ago. And in my head, I'm like, Colin's going to say this is like a TV show.
It could be, if only because like, I think what makes it stand out, and again, I think not like be like a script, aside from like all of the, choreographed fights and effects and visuals, just the characterization I thought was really good. Like I liked everyone in the movie, and like I kind of wanted to hang out with them more, 100%. If that makes sense. Yeah. So it's like all the like this is something I'm seeing more in movies now, and I like it, where like the nerd character, the loser character, isn't like the nerds that we grew up with, which is like total hopeless cases. This girl has a circle of friends, and she has like a nerdy interest, stunts and stuff. She has a backbone. She can kind of like stand up for herself. I almost think Superbad was maybe the turning point for this, where it was like, no, you can be not the cool guys and
still have a fucking life.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And more to the point, not be a pushover. I think that's one of the biggest shifts in like portrayals of nerds in movies and TV that I've seen growing up. The old ones, it was like, give me your lunch money. Oh, God. A lot of the nerds now, it's like, they're talking shit back. They're like, maybe they'll get beat up, but like they're sticking up for themselves. And I don't know, I think it makes for a much more well-rounded watch because obviously that's going to be a little more true to life. And so I think as far as like it being a TV show or something, like I kind of would want it to be just so there'd be more of it. Yeah. I could take 22-minute bursts of this over a period of time. But the other side of that is the look of it. Like it has a cinematic feel, the costumes and stuff.
The way that they stitch the scenes together, that's craft. Something will close and then the next thing will open, but it's not corny or cheesy. It's like, wow, you actually have a great eye for this. Yeah. So whoever was responsible for that, brilliant job.
And I just think like just money that was like burnt on a spoon and sucked into the needle and shot into the arm of this film. I don't think you could get that in a show. So in that sense, like I appreciate it being a movie. Shoot, didn't look
fight
at the
choreography.
Gnarly, loved it.
You didn't look at what?
How much money it cost, but it looks expensive.
Yeah, I think that is largely just because all the, well, because of the Pakistani influence,
Right.
it's like very colorful. Everything's very vibrant. Everybody's clothes are amazing.
Yeah.
And like you were saying, all the characters they're great, and they're all like different.
Yeah.
That's another like visual
yeah.
aspect
Yeah.
that I really like in movies, where it's like, here is a world, like
Yeah.
there's a lot of different people and kinds of people.
And it
in
remains believable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not like it doesn't have that one note, one writer, kind
Yeah.
of feel to it.
Did you address that it's actually fucking funny?
Yeah, I was when I was texting Brent about it after we saw it, I was like, yeah, it's good. It's like and like I realized when I was like mid-text, I don't know how to describe the movie really. Like it's like an action comedy, but really
action's
good
good.
action and actually funny. So usually I think that combination comes at the compromise of one or both of those elements.
I was thinking about it on the drive over here, and I think the reason why the comedy works with the action is because they allow themselves to be cruel with the comedy.
Yeah.
Which is like historically funny, but like hasn't been in a lot of, recent movies. So I was like, oh wow, they're just being mean, petty, and shitty, and that's really funny.
Yeah.
Like, cause there's like, it's cool because you could kind of see, the current generation of Pakistani characters in this movie, just kind of like eschewing, some of the past, and then the generation behind them letting it go, but also like realizing how embedded it is. Like when they're like having to describe to their children why this, why that, and then like the way that the father describes it to the daughter as kind of like almost like a business merger.
Sure.
Like, it was this long ass explanation, and she just goes, huh? It's just like in context. It had me rolling, and my screening tonight had like a good amount of people in it.
That's good.
And it was, I mean, every joke hit.
That's awesome.
It was really cool.
Yeah, me and Justine were all alone.
Oh no.
Yeah.
There was a lot of pride too, because I think there was representation, and but it's not stereotypical. This is some different shit.
Well, not only is it not stereotypical, but I think it's also not like edgy, and that's I think a bit like kind of a fault of a lot of, like they're high school kids, but they swear, they do drugs, or like it just gets kind of tedious a lot of the times. But like, I don't know, this was kind of a clean movie. Is it PG-13?
It does have like a cartoony feel,
right?
And like I would be totally fine taking a kid to see it. It's just like there's a lot of swearing, there's violence, but it's not like gross or bloody or anything. It is literally fighting.
Right,
I think, they probably went right to the threshold of PG-13R in terms of like after the fights, like the amount of injuries they had and stuff. It was pretty light given how violent they actually were. So it was cartoonish violence, which I think might have helped them retain a PG-13. And while the credits were rolling, I actually was scrolling through a lot of the
What
marketing.
song was playing during the credits, Brent?
I missed it.
X-Ray Specs, Identity. I was like, that was the best coda to the film. I was just like,
that's great. Yeah,
as if I wasn't already sold.
So yeah, I wasn't paying attention because I went immediately into my phone. I started looking at like their Instagram profile, the marketing, just see like how did they roll this out? Like what's going on with this thing? And yeah, a lot of the marketing looked very PG-13, and also they kind of try to do like some like Big Trouble in Little China-esque like aesthetics with a lot of the posters and with even the taglines and stuff.
Yeah, but I didn't see a whole lot of advertisements for this film. I said advertisements because it's very British. But I was not like looking forward to it or super sold on what I did see. I was just like, oh, it's like kung fu stuff.
Yeah.
But man, I was overjoyed with the film itself.
Yeah.
I was getting in some parts like confused because I felt like I'd seen it before. But if you've seen Ms. Marvel, the show, the Disney Plus show, it's a lot like that.
And the evil mom in this movie is the good mom.
Is the evil mom in the Ms. Marvel, who also fights.
Yeah.
And then the Umbrella Academy girl is in this one too. So there's a lot of fight history in the actors.
Okay.
But yeah, there are definitely parts where I was like, that happens in Ms. Marvel too. It was really kind of weird. Very
I had during some of the sci-fi stuff, like like when it's revealed that there's experiments going on inside the house, I was getting devil conspiracy vibes where I was like, that's a weird twist. Bring it, give me more. So there was enough like, holy shit, that's from out of left field things that conjured devil conspiracy for me. So yeah, that I was getting good feelings throughout, because it was like I said, Scott Pilgrim versus the World, Ready or Not, and then the Devil Conspiracy. You give me you throw those three in a blender, I'm watching your fucking movie. So yeah, I dug it.
Yeah, I'm glad he liked it. I'm again, to my original point of just wondering people's opinions about things. I was like, this is really good. Are people liking this? Are people into this? Like, I don't know why I'm so
I totally shared one of the one sheets to my Instagram stories. Like, hey, I recommend this.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that kind of sort of sums up our closing thoughts on it. But I this is a unanimous. Very excited about this movie. One of the better movies I've seen in a while. Something that gets me excited. I mean, not that I know. Again, we came off that Beau Was Afraid episode, and that was also a movie that got me very excited.
But I think would you qualify this one as a surprise?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so for surprise this year, we've got Devil Conspiracy. Maybe I Do this, and was there one other one? I feel like it was kind of surprising. God, the Australian one.
Oh,
Of an Age.
Of an Age.
Yeah.
Very different movies, but all pretty. Yeah, wasn't expecting much, and just was very, very pleased.
Well, I saw from when we saw the trailer for this movie, it looked great.
Okay,
I was excited, and then it was good, and I was glad.
Dylan, get out of your cage, dude! I'm dragging you out of your cage. We went on a date. We saw Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret.
Yeah, we did.
This is the adaptation of the beloved Judy Bloom adolescent coming-of-age classic novel turned into a film. The story follows... I forgot. Follows Margaret, the titular Margaret.
Oh, dude.
Played by Abby Ryder Forston of Ant-Man fame. Pre-snap. Yeah, she's a daughter from Ant-Man.
Oh, pre-snap.
Pre-snap.
Okay.
And writer-director Kelly Freeman Craig. She did Dylan.
Ant-Man 1.
Edge of 17.
Oh, that's right.
I forgot. Is that a movie you just like make me watch?
It's a movie I liked, and I put it on, and all you kept saying was, "Who the fuck likes this movie?" And I had to change it because I was like getting my feelings hurt. And I was like, all right.
Yeah, so this is the follow-up to that. You got young Margaret, right? She's in New York City. She's having the time of her life. And then her parents decide they're moving to the burbs, baby. They're going to Jersey. And Margaret is adapting to her new climate in the world. It's set in 1970. And I got like some Wonder Years vibes for sure. Only imagine in that show when Mr. Wonder Years is like Kevin, right? That's his name. Is that fucked up that I just can remember the name of a show I haven't seen and since it was on air? Anyways, Kevin from Wonder Years is he'll do like the diary entries to kind of break up the narrative. This movie, it's Margaret. She's like, "Dear God, it's me, Margaret. You won't believe what these bitches at school have me going through this time." And it just starts going off on her, whatever her situation is. And so it works as a narrative structure, but then it's also, her family situation. It's like her mom is a Shitska and her father is Jewish. And by their binding, the mom, her parents have disowned her. And so, she's kind of in touch with her Jewish heritage via her grandma, but she's in this new place now. So she's going to these different churches and, trying to kind of
figure it out. Yeah.
And at some point, because of all this fighting that the stuff is causing, she's just like, "Dear God, I don't think I really believe in you. And can I get my period, please?" And then she gets her period, and then she's stoked on talking to God again. But it's a non-denominational God is my point. She's just kind of figuring out her life. It's a coming-of-age movie. It's 70s movie. It's Dylan.
Yes.
What do you think about this movie?
We watched it, me and you.
Yes.
In a packed house.
It was full. No.
It was crazy, and I was like, why are we like the only two males?
It was hella fucking creepy watching. We should have had an FBI agent outside of the movie theater because we're watching a movie where teenage girls are like, I want boobs. And
bust. We need a bust.
Bikinis and bras and bra sizes. And we're just two men alone in the theater.
Crying.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping like the people that like rung us up have no idea what this movie was really about.
Hopefully.
So like if they ever had to like walk in and check the theater,
it's not like it's directed by a woman. It's about young women. It's a coming of age thing for girls, which is all the great reason for, maybe mothers and daughters who are at this age to go watch the movie together. Not two grown-ass men by themselves in an empty theater like some fucking creeps.
I know, I did feel creepy. I didn't feel great.
It's just you're not the target audience.
Yeah, I had to write that in my Letterboxd review. I said, this movie was not made with me in mind. But with that being said, I will say if I was a 15-year-old girl, I'd probably be fine. Or maybe younger than that, honestly.
Yeah, I think it was like she's in 6th grade.
12. She's like 12.
Yeah. It's competently made.
Yeah.
Is there a story? I mean, like,
Did you ever read it as a child?
No.
Me either.
I read Choose Your Own Adventure.
Right.
Me too.
Wisely
and
so.
scary stories.
Yeah.
And goosebumps until I got scared.
The plot?
The plot is, so she goes to a new school.
Yeah, we got that.
And then she meets up with new friends, and then they make a friend group, and they're all like, this bitch is fucking getting older or maturing. She thinks she's so mature because there's like one girl that has like a growth spurt like 2 years prior. And so she's like freakishly tall compared to everyone else in her class. And they like say that. But realistically, I'm like looking at this film. It's like everyone's legit 10 or 12, and they had to hire like a 16-year-old to like be in this room with them. Like that kind of sucks. And then like they're all like making fun of her. Anyway, so they have this little friend group, and they just talk about school and shit. They want to go through womanhood. Let's just say puberty. I don't have to go into deep. But there's also the conflict with her parents, sorta, and her grandma because she loves her grandma a lot. And then the conflict with religion.
Well, both of the parents are like, who needs this mess because of all the schism that it's caused in their lives between families. And Margaret sort of winds up in the same place, but she's still like, I don't know, let me try some stuff. So, it's fun montages her, and she's in the Jewish church. And Gilbert Gottfried, in his last role alive, he plays Rabbi Gilbert.
Yeah,
he doesn't really. This is
Rabbi
in our
Gottfried.
Yeah, this is fan fiction.
This is what we were yelling at the screen.
Rabbi Gilbert Gottfried does a really funny rabbi impression, and it would have been much better of a film if he was still rabbi in the rabbi movie. And the dad had a funny line because he's Jewish. He's like, he's talking to the mom. She's like, I don't want her getting all churchy. And the dad's like, well, what got me off of church was going to church. So let her go to church and she'll get out of it. And she kind of does.
So is it the kind of thing where, like a lot of these kind of movies, it's like one summer or something? Yeah. Is this like that?
I think it's a whole year.
Yeah. Because it starts off in her summer, and then she's like, we're moving to Jersey. And she gets in there. A full school year happens. She goes back to the summer camp that you saw her in.
Okay, and so then we're kind of like, this is a year in this girl's life.
Yeah, and then she talks to the freakishly tall girl, and she's like, "Hey, you guys are dicks to me," and she's like, "Yeah, actually, we are. You're right.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah,
let's dance.
Yeah, and then the movie ends with her dancing with the freakishly tall girl.
Not really. It ends with her getting a period.
Oh, that's true.
And then
spoilers. Jeez, see, this is why we said spoilers in the beginning of the.
Then she talks to the boy.
Yes,
he liked.
Anyway, this is a fine coming of age movie. I will say,
yeah,
you've seen the trailer.
Yeah,
you've seen this fucking movie,
and it's a surprising. I'm gonna say a surprising acting job from Benny Safdie, the guy that from Good Times and Uncut Gems.
There we go.
I was not expecting him to be in this film. Once I saw him, I went, "Holy shit, that's like a Safdie brother, isn't it?" And I was like, "Oh, it is. It's Benny Safdie." And he just is her dad, and is like, "Fine." I'm like, okay, because I've only ever seen him as like a Down syndrome person in Good Times, so I think that's all I really know him as, and that and like half of directors of other stuff. And I'm just like, oh Jesus, doing a good job. as a dad.
So when you guys go to movies like this one and some of the other ones you've seen this year where you're like, where nobody else goes.
Right.
First of all, is there awkwardness? And then second question, where do you feel the awkwardness the most?
I would say for this one, I didn't really feel awkward until the movie was really like halfway through.
Okay.
But I don't know. I really don't care as much as I used to. Like, I think what really broke it for me was Magic Mike 3 when I walked in alone. And I was like, I stopped caring after that.
That was a breakthrough moment. I love that.
No one cares.
Yeah, whatever. It'll be back tomorrow for another movie. So
they'll be like, oh, whatever. This fucking weirdos are just watching movies all the time.
Yeah, I realized that perhaps the movie-going experience is not as precious to me anymore. So, like, I feel like I could key most anything into the screen, walk in, and not care.
I only feel awkward if I had to go in there twice. Meaning, I went in at like noon or 1, and then like hours later I come back and the same person's behind me.
Yeah,
which happened to me multiple times.
Oh yeah,
I was like, damn it,
all part of the game, baby.
I was really hoping that person left.
No one cares.
Oh yeah,
you know, like
nobody gives a shit.
Yeah, unless you're like the guy that's known for vomiting all the time or just being some wildly inconvenience to other people.
Yeah.
Like if you're in anywhere in the realm of reasonable and like tucked away to yourself, you are invisible to the world and certainly to anyone who's working at a theater, given the nightmare stuff that they got to see every day. This is theory. If you've ever worked at a theater, send us an email at moviemasters.
Oh, we want to talk to you
at gmail.com with your experience, particularly in creeps that go there multiple times a day, sometimes definitely a week. Like pretty much since July of last year, there hasn't been a once a week visit to the theaters in my life. But yeah, I can't imagine they care. And I think there's also probably a lot of people who do it.
So sad.
The other movie we went to, since we're talking about it so much, we watched The Covenant. This is Guy Ritchie's The Covenant, which they say quite a bit. There's a pair of folks that write with Guy Ritchie, Ivan Atkinson and Marn Davies. They wrote the last Guy Ritchie movie we saw like 2 months ago, the Operation Fortune movie, which is a very different film. I kind of think of Guy Ritchie as like a very Monster Energy drink doused director, like all of his stuff being very revved up, but this one's pretty serious, even down to the score, like all strings, more strings in this movie than in Chevalier of the soundtrack goes. This is a serious movie. It follows Jake Gyllenhaal plays this square-jawed sergeant man, bearded,
Jake Gyllenhaal hair.
Yeah, Jake Gyllenhaal-esque kind of soldier.
Yeah.
In Afghanistan. And he is assisted by the interpreter, very important note, played by Dar Salim. And the interpreter, we walked into the movie a little late, but I think they said that the interpreter's guy's family was killed by the Taliban.
Somebody's son.
Okay, now he's got deep-seated beef.
He's just a citizen.
Yes.
And the Taliban's coming around messing with everybody. And they killed somebody's son, presumably his. And so he's like, well, F these guys. I'm going to help the Americans.
Yeah.
And so the Americans come around. They're like, we need an interpreter. We need a guy who knows the ropes around here. And so, I mean, this is real. This is really what happened. I mean, this story of these particular people is not.
Yeah, I think this specific story is fictionalized, but it's sort of like, here's the kind of thing that happens.
That happened. Yeah, so they basically take this guy around, but he has to, cover up his face and stuff so that the Taliban in his town don't know that it's him. So he's putting himself in a lot of danger, just from getting shot at and whatever when he's out with the troops.
Right.
And then also when he's just at home with like his wife and baby. So the deal is he interprets for the Americans, and he and his family get passports to get out of the country.
Right. And it's a well-crafted movie. Mm-hmm. I think. Like I said, I'm used to Guy Ritchie being kind of goofy, but he's like putting on big boy pants and like I don't know, showing that he can do like serious stuff. And there's a cool scene early on that I think really illustrates so they're on a convoy and they're driving down. And they have another guy in their troop who's like another Afghani guy, and he's like, oh, we got to take this alternate route because of the rains. They mess things up. And the interpreter guy, like midway through the drive, he's like, "Hey, stop this! Something's wrong."
Yeah,
and
like,
Jake
pull
Gyllenhaal's
over.
like, "No, this guy. We got information from this guy." He goes,
Something's weird. It
Yeah.
doesn't feel right.
"He's gonna get you ambushed." And so they pull over, and they're like, "All right, let's check it out." And like, the tension is really good, you know. And I'd say throughout the movie, they do a good job showing how stressful this situation is. Because they go up on the hill, they're like, "No one's here, no one's there." And then he's like, "Can I get eyes on the sky?" And they radio to the people to, you know, do radar air searches of the area. And meanwhile, the interpreter like has the guy that gave him fake information like on the ground with a gun at his head. He's like, "This guy's a traitor. This guy's lying."
They're like, whoa, we don't have any evidence of that.
Yeah.
Like, they're just kind of waiting, and they're like pulling their guns on him, and they're like, "Put your gun down, leave him alone." He's like, "No, you don't understand. This guy's bad." And they're like, "You're bad. Put your gun away."
Yeah.
But then
It turns out Jake Gyllenhaal's like, "Stand down, I got a square jaw." And he's like, "Fine." And he hands his gun to Jake Gyllenhaal. And then they're like, "Hey, we did the search. Yeah, for sure. There's like guys right over the ridge who are going to like kill all of you guys." They're like, "Shit, turn around." No, so that's like, okay, that shows you that how treacherous everything is over there for everyone.
yeah.
And-
And the guy's not just like some like bad guy. He tells him like before they find out that there is indeed an ambush set up, the guy is like, I'm sorry. It's like, they have my wife and kid. They have his people hostage. That's why he's doing this thing, but he's still going to get all these people killed, you know.
So I think that's just one example of like how the movie thrusts you, the viewer, into this world of like anything goes. Like there's not super orderly methods of going about what they're trying to do. There's not like a clear plan in place that like you can safely just, you know, walk down the street and get your jobs done. And they do find like a munitions base, and they, you know, are taking it out with the help of the interpreter guy. But the Taliban finds out that they're there, and just it's fucking open warfare, man. Just like the Taliban tears through their squad. And I think this is kind of where it gets interesting. Like, I don't love war movies in general, but I think this movie is responsible in showing just like how, like, no romanticization or like hero stuff, or, well, there's heroes, but, you know, like I said, they give you the baby face, right? Jake Gyllenhaal is like this hero guy, but in this first fight, the bulk of the movie, he kind of gets incapacitated or pretty quickly.
So their whole squad gets messed up. So it's just Jake Gyllenhaal and the interpreter, and they're basically running away. They have no like supplies or anything. They don't have a car. They are running through the wilderness to get to their base, but it's like very far away. And so meanwhile, they're running away from Taliban who are all over the place. And so it's like kind of that movie where you're running away
Right.
from people. You're having to be quiet and
And
hide
like Toyota
and stuff.
pickup trucks and stuff. It's
Yeah.
like not like,
No.
you know, high tech stuff. It's like,
Yeah, no, it's just,
oh man, this is street level. This is like gang
they're
war.
being hunted,
Yeah.
basically. And so they're trying to get to their base, but it's very far. During this, them running away from the Taliban, Jake Gyllenhaal gets injured and he's incapacitated.
And so the interpreter is now like just hauling Jake Gyllenhaal to where he hopes he can get help. And this is where like Guy Ritchie craft comes in, because it's like suspense and it's like thrills and it's like tension and, you know, Taliban run by him, like what's in the cart, all that kind of stuff, you know. And it's how, I don't know, just how to survive. And it's just this harrowing ordeal, and it's portrayed very effectively. And long story short, like obviously Jake Gyllenhaal gets saved by the interpreter guy, right? At like the last moment possible, and gets whisked away to America. Then we start essentially the second part of the movie, which is Jake Gyllenhaal's like, "Who's that guy that saved my life?" They're like, "He's in hiding from the Taliban right now." He's like, "You just left him there?" They're like, "Yeah, they didn't have visas." And so now Jake Gyllenhaal is just at home losing his mind. He's like, "I cannot not rest knowing that this guy who saved my life." And again, the movie does a good job showing you all the shit that this guy goes through.
So the
to
guy doesn't
really...
just save his life. He literally carries Jake Gyllenhaal's body. I don't know how far it was. It's
Long
like
enough.
super far through like mountains and taking care of him. And so, yeah, it's very much like, I owe this man a debt I cannot repay, but here's the best I can do.
Hence the covenant, right? Jake Gyllenhaal's like, I gotta, you know, make it up to this guy. And again, I think the movie's kind of responsible in showing like the insane bureaucracy that goes into like, hey, I'm like a war hero. This guy saved my life. Can we get him over here? No. Why not? He's out. There's like, and also Guy Ritchie's experience doing like more comedic bits, like Gyllenhaal on the phone just cursing a bunch, constantly being hot on all redirected.
Did you get all hot and bothered during that part?
You get really angry. Yeah.
I can't relate at all to like being in the desert of Afghanistan and being chased by Taliban, but I can relate to being on fucking hold and being transferred and like trying to get some kind of obnoxious bureaucratic thing down. And
it's like, how are you going to get a background check on a 3-month-old baby?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Eventually, hey, guess what? He's got to do it himself. Flies back to Afghanistan.
He's got to find the guy because he's in hiding, obviously.
And, obviously it's pretty like bullets fly in action movie, suspense kind of stuff. I felt like it had a very like, I say this a lot, but very TBS, Saturday movie kind of tone.
Oh, it's like Shawshank Redemption. Guy Ritchie's The Covenant.
Yeah, or just something that's playing in a in the waiting room at a mechanics or something. There's craft, there's like work put in, there's tone, there's soundtrack, there's acting, and like I think what it's ultimately doing is it's showing like the power fantasy, if there is one. And again, the hero of the movie, if you're just breaking down per screen time life risk for another human, is the interpreter. And so it turns around that gung-ho kind of hoorah stuff and like shows other people's involvement in this cause that they're doing. And at the end of the movie, they're very clear, like, as soon as we pulled out of Afghanistan, the Taliban, who you've been watching being horrible this whole movie, they took over. There's still interpreters over there. Their lives are still at risk. They make sure in the film, they're like, here's the reality of the situation. Like Jake Gyllenhaal is like a great guy, and you see him risking it all for these people, but make no mistake, that's not how this went down. So the fantasy in a sense is like, man, wouldn't it be great if people had this moral compass like Jake Gyllenhaal has? And he's constantly just like, honor your word, honor your word, honor your word.
Of course you're cheering for this guy. He wants what's right, and it's showing you that he's doing what's right. And then by the end, they're like, and now this is what we did. And so you're like, oh man, like you feel it extra, I think. And they even have like photos of army people and stuff with their interpreters. And,
a lot of faces blacked out and everything.
They were doing what was right.
And we didn't. Basically is the what the story's telling you. I mean, I would be lying if I said I loved the movie. Like I'm going to rush to see it again, or it's going to be on any end of the year list. But it's a lot more interesting than I thought it would be. It's a lot more responsibly handled than I thought it would be, because this is de-Monster Energy-fied Guy Ritchie flick for
He's
sure.
Having coffee.
Yes, black coffee.
Yeah.
I'd also be lying if I said that this was bad or sucked, or that I wasn't entertained, or like that all the suspense parts didn't work. It kind of worked for me. I'm not mad at this movie. I'm not jumping for joy either. Where are you at?
I was surprised at how good it was.
Yeah.
I only know Guy Ritchie stuff to be obnoxious.
Yes.
And this really wasn't. There were only a couple of parts where you're like, all right, Guy Ritchie.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's just kind of what you would hope that it would be. It shows you the action. It shows you the tension. It shows you people struggling and overcoming and being serious and being upset. It's not feel good, but it does give you like a feeling of what a goodness would be.
Right.
And so in that way, it's feel good, like, because it shows you somebody heroic in a way, which is always like good to see on the screen.
And I think maybe a more artful director, someone whose movie I didn't see 2 months ago go into, who's the
Jason Statham.
Yeah, someone who doesn't show Jason Statham just mowing down people in an FPS perspective. I think maybe a more artful director would have made a more boring movie.
Yeah.
And like, say what you will, doing 20 years worth of shoot, bang, bang, bang action movies, when you need to do those parts, you're like, all right, I'm ready for this.
This is another one of those mid-level budget movies that didn't do good. $55 million to make, $12 million so far.
I wonder if a lot of that was going to Jake Gyllenhaal to just get him to be in the movie. Because there's not, there's a lot of weapons, there's a lot of guns.
helicopters and
Yeah,
stuff.
shit. Oh yeah,
A
missiles.
lot of that stuff gets donated though, or loaned from military as long as it shows military in a positive light.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, but yes, it is with a nod and a pat on the head from Uncle Sam that this movie gets made for sure. But 55, that does sound like a lot for a movie that's largely in the desert.
Sounds low to me.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, and how much it made sounds really low to me. But I also have seen nothing about this except for that poster in the theater or the cutout thing or whatever.
They have one of those there?
They did, yeah. It'd been there for a really long time, so you probably
I probably walked by.
Yeah, it probably
about
blended
96
into
times.
the background.
Yeah.
But the theater, there was a lot of people there.
Yeah, I mean,
really,
middle of the day, a lot of gray hair.
Yeah.
I mean, again, our theater was fine, but that's probably not the case with a lot of the world. It's depressing shit, man.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It's like, look, when you can watch Mario or you can watch The Covenant. You know where you're going.
Somewhere in Queens is a movie I've been avoiding. I think we all have been.
I've been avoiding it.
Dodging.
Yeah, deprioritizing in favor of a lot of movies. Okay, listen. Can anyone do a good Ray Romano? A passable Ray Romano?
I forget.
I think I can.
Oh, you got this shit?
That's all I do. Mine just sounds like Chewbacca.
Hey, Ray.
That's his brother.
I know.
Do him.
Hey, Ray.
What
Ray, man. Hold on.
You're doing Phil Anselmo
And
now.
then Ray is, hold on. Yeah, if you go to Mooseport and you go, you know.
Did you say Mooseport?
I don't know. What's
so
that?
the answer is Dylan can do a really good Ray Romano.
I could do everyone. I could do everyone and everyone loves Raymond.
So Somewhere in Queens is directed and written by Ray Romano. He was co-written by Mark Stegman, who wrote a good chunk of Scrubs, which kind of makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
It's also starring Laurie Metcalf. I say starring because I think she was my favorite part of the movie. Mm-hmm. They are the mother and father of a young boy who's a basketball man. He's a shooty basketball man in their high school. And he gets halfway scouted at a game by a guy who's like, hey, that kid, like, I'm not here to scout that kid or anything, but he's pretty good. Like, he's not going to play for our college.
Yeah, he was basically like, hey, where's he going to school? He was pretty good. And they're like, oh, he's not going to school. He's going to work at the family business. And he's like, are you serious?
Yeah.
He's like, you should probably try to get him in somewhere. He's good enough.
So the scout puts this idea in their head to get them into this local college and helps them like kind of get their foot in the door, sort of. And this is like a really quiet kid. And maybe that kind of speaks to what I was saying earlier about how the nerd dynamic is kind of getting disrupted. He's like their star basketball player, but he's also just like cripplingly quiet, textbook introvert, deeply introverted, right? And he's in this very loud, very Italian family, and of which Ray Romano is involved with. The family runs a construction business, and I don't know. I thought it was I kind of appreciated that they were like, no, don't make him go to college. That's stupid. Have him earn some money right now in this business. Mm-hmm. And it's like almost refreshing, I guess, in a movie where the practical choice is to not go to college. Because like, in all fairness, don't waste your time with college. Go work for your family. I mean, that's what I'd say. But
and they're like successful.
Yeah,
like, it shows you the other boys in the family that work for the business, and they're all like
classic model Cucines, or like, hey, I drive a Maserati. Look at me, I'm 22. I got a Maserati. Is it a Maserati? Something like that. One of those.
No, he was
cars.
making fun of someone that has a Maserati, and he's like, but it's in yellow or whatever.
No thanks.
No thanks.
So at the same time, Ray Romano is kind of like, I want this kid to kind of have an out. So,
but he's also like, he loves that his kid is good at basketball,
right?
And he's not living vicariously, but kind of like he just really likes all the fanfare,
right?
But the big deal is that the boy, he's super quiet and awkward and weird. But then turns out he has a girlfriend, and she is a loud person.
Very extrovert, introvert kind of thing, and she was able to kind of hook him and not really get him out of his shell necessarily, but just kind of, introvert people, that's what they need, is just someone to boss them around kind of and say,
or to speak up for them.
Yeah. Hey, you're my boyfriend now. We're going to be together. But so as he's trying out to get into college, right, she's kind of like, we're at the end of high school now. I have other plans. He has other plans. He's way too into me. I'm going to call this off. She's not like, a villain of the story or anything. She's just acting very pragmatically. But of course, the kid, it being his first love, he's in like this depression spiral, can't get out of, starts fucking up at like the tryouts for school and everything. Ray Romano's like, shit, I got to get this kid back in the game. Basically, he tries to bribe the girl. He's like, hey, I'll buy you a car if you could just be with him for like 3 weeks till he can get into college.
Yeah.
And, to her credit, she's like, you're not going to fucking pay me money, but I do care about the guy. I see what you're saying. I'll stick it out with him. She gets back together with him, or pretends to be back together with him. And thus he has the power to, get this, scholarship thing. But of course, the plan goes awry, and, I don't know. It's a family story. I was really thinking while watching this movie about the movie 1001, and that's a movie that ended up really sticking with me. I think about it a lot. It's definitely one of the better movies I've seen this year, and the more I think about it, the higher it is. And that's a case of a person who was completely outside of the industry, didn't really have credits before, had this very unique story to tell, kind of through the merit between the script and whatever she had done, got this grant from Sundance, who obviously like saw what she did and was like, wow, that's really impressive. You have a unique voice. Let's get this story told. And they made this, what I would call a true independent movie, And then you have these movies that are made by television actors, of which there's a lot of. It's strange how often it is. And some of the worst movies we've seen in our tenure watching every movie. We're talking BJ Novak's Vengeance. We're talking Zach Braff's, what is it? A Good Person.
Mm-hmm.
But then, Jordan Peele, he doesn't get in the position he's in if he's not a TV actor. The Barbarian, that was a TV actor making
Cregger,
it.
yeah.
There you go. It's not always a bad thing, and it's not the same. It's not quite the same as being a Nepo baby, right? You obviously have proven yourself to be like responsible in the industry. You pay your dues, and you're like, let me make a movie now. Inevitably, I think they tend to be quiet, in the style of an independent movie, but they're not really independent movies. And it's not a 1001 situation where they're like, wow, this person just has a unique voice and we need to make this movie.
He has a unique voice, but he doesn't have a unique voice, is what you're telling me.
Well, it's, if the Ray Romano isn't in one of the most celebrated, successful TV shows of all time, I don't think if he's a guy off the street and he's like, hey, I want to make this movie about an Italian family and there's problems, I don't think he's getting greenlit by anyone. At the same time, though, I don't think this movie falls into like the abysmal category by any stretch.
No.
It's a fun, quiet movie. It is funny. I think Ray Romano is very funny.
See, I did not know that, and I've never seen the
Everyone Loves Raymond?
Yeah, Everyone Loves Raymond, and I did not know he was funny.
I don't think you would know he's funny from watching Everyone Loves Raymond.
Okay.
I think he's one of those guys kind of like Bob Saget that like got in as a wildly successful TV show, but like doesn't really show off his chops as a comedian. I don't know. I'm going off of vibes here. Every time I've seen Ray Romano as like a cameo or something like where he's in something, he's always really funny. I just don't think he cares about letting anyone know it. Like he's not cranking out stand-up specials where he's offending large swaths of people, or he's not like, trying to like be in the spotlight or prove himself as funny. I think he's just really funny and really fucking rich and doesn't really give a shit about who knows it or thinks it. And in that sense, I think he's kind of cool. Like he wants to make this silly movie, let him make the movie. And it's not mean-spirited. It's not edgy. It's not pretentious.
No, it is very much what it looks like. Middle-class Italian family. Lots of very Italian stuff.
Yeah.
He's kind of an idiot.
Right.
Just sort of not reading people right or not really doing the right thing at the right time. But everyone is like, he means well.
Yeah.
But everyone's really funny in it too.
Yeah. And I think he gets good performances out of people. I think the jokes are good. Like it's a pretty funny movie. Mm-hmm. So yeah, in my, like I said, I'm not casting judgments because I'm interested in this development the more I pay attention to it. TV actors getting behind the camera. How do they pull it off? Okay. This one's somewhere in the middle. I don't think we're seeing another Jordan Peele, but I also don't think we're seeing someone who really cares to try to be that or anything. He wants to tell quiet stories. And I think this, like, the point of the movie is to be charming. Mm-hmm. Found it pretty charming in the way, like, My Big Fat Greek Wedding is charming or something like that, and it's very fine. But yeah, it is also like in the style of indie movies, even though it's very much so not. And again, Laurie Metcalf, friggin' hilarious start to finish. That's something to his credit too. He's not the guy who has to take all the good jokes. Like he spreads it around. If anything, he's willing to play a character that gets shit on quite a bit and makes really bad mistakes and looks goofy, but isn't like the center of everything. So yeah, I think my takeaway is that Ray Romano is probably pretty cool. And respect to Ray Romano for not shoving Ray Romano down everyone's throat. I appreciate that. So yeah, watch the trailer. It seems like something you'd like to watch.
Did you see the trailer in the theaters?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You looked it up.
Yeah, I'm like, Ray Romano, huh? I'm on a newsletter. Did you like the movie, Disney?
Yeah, I think that My Big Fat Greek Wedding comparison is apt.
Okay.
It's like that, like crazy family.
Yeah.
Kids trying to figure stuff out while their crazy family is around.
Speaking of highbrow art house independent cinema, Brent, talk to us about Black Demon.
All you have to decide is what to do with the time that is given to him.
The Black Demon is a 2023 film, technically, directed by Adrian Grunberg, who you will know from the last Rambo movie, probably the least entertaining or good.
Oh, not the over the top crazy one.
Not the awesome one. No, like the one that came after where he's just an old man kind of at a house and
all right.
He has to booby trap the house. It's not that good. Here's how the internet describes this movie. Nature bites back. Oil man Paul Sturgis's idyllic family vacation turns into a nightmare when they encounter a ferocious Megalodon shark that will stop at nothing to protect its territory. Stranded and under constant attack, Paul and his family must somehow find a way to get his family back to shore alive before it strikes again in this epic battle between humans and nature. So that sounds like a cool story, and the posters looks like a really cool B movie. You got a giant shark head, not unlike Jaws, the Jaws poster, but you've got like some humans kind of in front of the shark's mouth. You're like, oh wow, some humans are gonna get murked. And I went in like kind of excited, and oh my god, this thing. The description I read, this is not what this movie is. There is technically a shark in it. You never really see it. I remind you that this movie is called The Black Demon. Why would a shark is not black? The Black Demon is oil. Big oil.
Okay. The shark is an innocent creature.
The shark is just it's just a CGI thing that appears every now and then.
The Black Demon is just oil. Yeah,
the Black Demon is oil. And your lead actor, Josh Lucas, he's the bad guy that works. It turns out that's the twist is, he's just a good family man taking his family down to Mexico for a vacation, right? But he's just got to do one quick thing for work, go check on this oil rig. But it's revealed as spoiler as we go on that he's the one that was signing documents that let this oil rig go to shit and pollute the waters, which summoned the Megalodon, which is like a spiritual creature in the Mexican culture, which I've never fucking heard of. But
I'll buy it.
Yeah. But because I'm unfamiliar with it, I'll buy it.
Yes.
And it's clunky, man. It's the acting's really bad. The CGI is really, really bad.
So wait, hold up. Is he and his family like out on the water? They're in a boat.
So here's the deal. Like it's one of those like movies that starts with the family driving the car and they're messing around and singing. And you're like, okay, I've seen this a million times. And I'm like, okay, they're going on vacation somewhere. It's like, oh, they're in Mexico. Okay, great. And they act like they've been there as a family. Mind you, the children are very, very young. Like there is a young boy that's probably 4 years old.
Yeah.
And it sounds like they've been going there for 8 years. Right. And that they haven't been in about 5 years. So I'm like, how is this possible? But yeah, they get to the town that they normally stay in and they find that it's just completely like wiped out. The shark has been murking people. But it's not communicated to them that that's what's happening. Instead, they're trying to lean into like the mysticism of the Mexican people. They're like, look at all these totems and such around.
Yeah.
These are offerings to the gods. And it's just kind of like, this is kind of cringy. And the wife happens to be Mexican. So like she kind of keeps the peace. But he has to go do his job, go check on the oil rig out in the water, and he has his family stay at this what was once a luxurious resort, which is now kind of seedy,
ravaged by the Megalodon.
Check this out. He takes some money out of his pocket, gives the bartender, says, "Hey, look after my family while I go out on the water." And there's just this clunky scene where like just like a random Mexican guy comes in and he just decides. He looks at the bartender and goes, "Watch this." And he goes over and he just starts like hitting on the woman and like drinking her water. And then she breaks a bottle over his head and like tries to stab him.
Yeah.
And this is how you get the family out to the oil rig. Okay. Let me walk you
They
through
just have
this.
determined that the town is too dangerous. So
Well, yeah, so like what happens is the wife screams at the children, "Let's run, let's get out of here." They don't run. They kind of briskly walk out. They go back to the car. The car, of course, the tires have been stabbed. So then they walk down towards
shark teeth.
Yeah, the shark is so big it came up and punctured the tires. But they walk down to the water. The wife pulls some money out, pays a guy in a boat, saying, "Hey, take me out to that oil rig." He says, "Okay, sure, no problem." Takes her out, in spite of like everybody in the town being killed by this shark. This guy's like, "Yeah, I'll take this
Why
boat
is
out
this
to
guy
the oil
even
rig."
there? But okay.
Yeah, it makes no sense. So they get the family on the oil rig. That's where they discover that, hey, the husband's the bad guy who's been signing off on papers that have let the oil rig go into disrepair, killing the town, summoning the Megalodon. And then it just becomes like some like white savior thing where in the end he has to sacrifice his life by holding onto a bomb while the shark eats him, in order to
Okay.
save his family.
Well, that's not savior. That's like you paying $10 back on like $1,000 loan. It sounds
I guess, yeah. But it's that's like one of two times that you see the actual shark. The rest of it
Right.
is just like it's about like bureaucracy and like how oil is bad. Mind you, we just saw how to blow up a pipeline,
Right,
which
right.
is just like a perfect indictment on like if you want to get into like the role of big oil in our lives. That's a very poignant. Just like, wow, look at this. This is like, these are people that are going through it, and here's what they're willing to do to make their statement. It's trying to make a statement, but it's just so convoluted, 'cause
Right.
it's just like oil is bad and it'll summon like a big ass shark that we won't really show you. And I don't know, we're going to have some like people that are technically acting, but maybe not so much with each other. So yeah, this thing was I mean, it makes sense why I was the only one in the
Well, it
theater.
seems like on paper you would want like, we are the oil company and we're going to come out here and we're going to get hunted by the shark. And that's how you tell a fun story.
Nope.
You don't have a family where it's like kind of the Godzilla thing where it's like, you like Godzilla, but Godzilla is kind of the bad guy.
I was thinking Godzilla too.
But you got to show Godzilla a lot. If they're not showing the shark, which is Godzilla, and there's not like a bad guy to beat or anything.
No.
Yeah.
The bad guy is big oil, and it's like,
Right.
how do you kill that? You
But it's kind of like we know that.
Yeah, and it's just like beating it death. It's like I said, 1 week prior, we watched an excellent movie about big
Yeah.
oil.
Well, the pipeline movie, it's like, hey, you guys know oil sucks, right? Okay, well, here's how the characters in the movie personally have had their lives affected by it. So it's not that like
They
doesn't
personalize
spend,
it, yeah.
It spends no time being like, here are the facts of big oil. It's like, hey, we all know this sucks, right?
Yeah,
We're going to
it's
respect
baseline. You all-
your intelligence enough to know
exactly.
that you already know this is terrible.
Yeah, this is like the reveal of the movie. It's like, yeah, big oil, man. They're just like they're doing all kinds of bad shit. It's like, yeah, we've been
We
alive.
know.
We've dealt with this.
All right.
Yeah.
Are there any good shark movies outside of Jaws? What do you guys like?
I'd defer to Dylan. He's probably seen way more.
I did like the Meg.
Mhm.
But I didn't see it in theaters.
Is that like one of those like Birdemic kind of like
No, that's the one with
Sharknado
Jason
silly
Statham.
stuff? So it's a real movie?
Yeah.
Okay. I
Is
mean,
Deep Blue Sea the one with
Samuel.
yeah. I don't think I really liked that
iconic
one.
scene? I won't spoil.
You're not gonna spoil this.
That 30-year-old movie.
Yeah, no spoilers. We didn't say we were going to talk about it. I'm not going to spoil it.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
you know what's funny? A friend of mine, he has a kid that just loves sharks. And he's like, we got Tubi just because there's a lot of shark movies on there.
He likes like the gory shark films. Or, like, just, like,
Anything with a
sharks
shark,
eating
like
people.
the kids at that age where it's
Yeah.
just like,
But
I
even if
like
they're-
sharks.
Even if they're killing people?
Yeah.
Dang, that's nuts.
I mean,
like Shark Tale is like one thing, but then there's like actual Jaws.
yeah, no, I mean, there's not a lot of options for like
I guess.
positive portrayals of sharks.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know.
Finding Nemo, there's a
I'm just
vegetarian
saying,
sharks.
if your kid likes sharks, shallow waters, no pun intended, in terms of like quality films. If you really think about how many of them are made, kind of the Exorcist factor, where it's like there's a great movie on top, and then everything inspired is terrible. Maybe I should call that the Meshuggah principle, because I like Meshuggah, the band, a lot.
Yeah.
But any band that sounds like Meshuggah is terrible.
Horrible.
Yeah, I don't know shark movies to be very good, and it sounds like this one is.
You like that 42 Deep movie?
What was
What's
that
that?
movie about?
The one with Mandy Moore, I think, and she gets in a cage and then she goes 42
Wait,
deep.
that's just a Stranded in the Ocean movie.
Yeah, no, it's not, because there's a shark in there.
I also don't think I like that movie. I also may never have seen that movie. Did you just put that on in the background and I was like doing something while it was happening?
No, I don't think we've ever seen it.
Okay. Just checking.
You like the
Sharks on a plane?
I'm listening. I'm not going to discount what you're saying until you say it.
You like the other Jaws movies? The one with Michael Caine?
I've seen
For some reason.
I think we've seen a lot of those Jaws movies.
Yeah, there was a time where you guys watched every Jaws movie.
Because like I'd never seen Jaws, like sat and watched Jaws before.
And now you understand why people just like the first Jaws movie.
Did you like the 3D one, Justine? The one where they're like in SeaWorld?
I didn't see that.
Yeah, I think we did.
Oh, well, then I apparently not.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, you don't remember anything other than the first Jaws movie, so.
No, I remember them having a town meeting in the second one.
Yeah.
And then they're like cutting the shark open and they're like, that's not the one, but don't tell them.
I remember 3, there was one scene in it, because I saw it in 3D when I was a kid in Chicago, and I think it was an arm or a leg that was like floating through the water in the 3D, the primitive 3D effect.
Right.
My brother and I, our minds were blown. It was the best.
Made you a cinema fan for life.
Yeah, I don't even remember what limb it was, but I just remember it coming toward my head. It was like, yeah.
All right, so that's an enthusiastic recommendation of the Black Demon from Brent. Return of the Jedi. It's back, baby. It's in the theaters. We saw a midnight showing of Return of the Jedi. All of us, but Dylan again. Dylan.
Yes.
You ever seen Return of the Jedi?
Dude, go fuck yourself.
Great answer.
Probably not the version you saw last time. Or maybe I did. I have no idea what versions
I think earlier in the day I was like, Dylan, you going to see Jedi? He's like, are you asking me if I've ever seen Return of the Jedi? Like, no, are you going to see it tonight?
Oh, yeah, I misheard what he said.
Dylan doesn't have great hearing. But it is a very funny idea. Hey, have you ever seen this movie? Have you heard about this movie? Return of the Jedi?
Pissing me
Tell
off.
me something about it.
It's directed by Richard Marquand, who these movies are so part of my DNA. I was like, oh, what else has he done? Oh, not much. Weird. Like kind of a British TV director, mostly. For like one of the biggest movies of like,
History?
my life at least. Maybe I have a skewed perspective, but and it's written by Lawrence Kasdan, who did he did Empire Strikes Back, and he did the Force Awakens. So kind of interesting through line. And he also did who knows about the Han Solo movie, because I think that was one that had a couple aborted rewrites and everything, so I won't attach them to that one. I liked The Force Awakens, and I didn't mind the Solo movie. I know there's a lot of tisking and booing around these movies, but I'll talk about my liking Star Wars. I don't care. I'm proud and brave. This is a story, follows up on Empire Strikes Back, in which Han Solo was involved in carbonite. He's involved with carbonite.
He's
carbonite
entangled with carbonite.
It opens up with the subterfuge of C-3PO and R2-D2 getting into the vile gangster Jabba the Hutt's palace and trying to free Han Solo. And it's a slow process to which they get the gang of the previous 2 films back together. They free Han Solo. They kill Jabba the Hutt. They get out, and bam! Immediately they find out there's a new Death Star being built. They got to blow it up. Team A has to dismantle the shield for the Death Star. Team B has to blow up the Death Star. Team C, which is just Luke Skywalker, he's got to confront who he's now found out and come to terms with is his father, Darth Vader, who is under the thumb of Emperor Palpatine. It's the grand conclusion to the Star Wars trilogy. So that's succinct.
Yeah, if someone has seen it, then
I was wondering if I would be able to actually talk about the
Pretty
movie
impressive.
like it's a movie. It was cool seeing this in the theater. Obviously, Elephant in the Room. It's a special edition. It's like the newer special edition. There's been a couple revamps of it. This one, they got the Hayden Christensen ghost in it. They have the worst change that they made in the entire trilogy, which is they change out the song that happens in Jabba's palace. I think that's the most offensive one in the whole retweaking of the trilogy.
If you had a power rank it, I think that weird Jabba in episode 4,
right?
You know what I mean, is up there. But I think you might be right.
Hear me out though. That's just an extra scene. So skip that scene.
This is yanking a scene out.
Yeah, and I mean, listen. I was trying to really not care about this sort of stuff because we're talking about a total of 3 minutes, like runtime in the whole movie that's been tweaked.
But that shit is iconic. I mean,
God damn it, it's
right?
iconic.
Yeah.
And let me tell you what else. When they have that new stupid song come in, it's like this centerpiece of what's happening in Jabba's Palace. And Jabba's Palace is such like a cool ambiance. The original song where the band is kind of just jamming out in the background, they're not like the central focus by any means.
But you remember the melody and you could hum it to your friends like years later and they know what the fuck you're talking about.
So yeah, it was a cool song, which is an important part too, but also like a quiet kind of backgroundy song. And it makes more sense that you would have a quiet backgroundy band entertaining people than like a show tune where people are dancing around with 3-piece singers that are like the center like performance. Yeah. That's not what they're supposed to be doing. They're supposed to be doing ambiance, which adds to the anyways.
I don't even I could not tell you what the song was originally. I don't know it that well. So just like watching it from the perspective of somebody that doesn't know.
Right.
That is such a hideous scene.
Yes.
It is ugly. It's obnoxious. The music is bad.
Aesthetically different.
It is so glaringly different that it's like this, just leave this out. What is this?
Yeah.
It is like, and I think it's supposed to be funny, but it is just awful.
The general marriage of CG and the original puppets
not
is
look good.
Brutal.
It is, and it's that like old CG too, so it looks bad.
Shout out the people that did the protest walkout during that, either to go pee legitimately or just like to make a point. I respect your game. That was amazing.
Speaking of that, I thought like watching a midnight showing, especially, I was like, oh, this is going to be like a Rocky Horror Picture Show thing. I've never been in a quieter audience.
Yeah.
Just shutting up, watching the goddamn movie. I don't know. I get kind of uncomfortable when it's like we're booing or we're cheering or whatever, like a super rowdy audience.
I knew it'd be cool when the Lucasfilm thing went up and nobody did anything. And then when it went bang, and then nobody did anything.
Yes.
Like all the stuff that people normally like clap and get all dorky about.
And obviously when it's a movie I've seen like a million times, I don't care. Like I wouldn't be upset if people were yelling and clapping and saying lines and stuff. But it was just odd that they weren't, I felt.
Nobody had anything to prove in that showing.
Yeah.
It's midnight. We know, everybody knows we're all like really big fans.
Yeah. Man, I really I loved hearing like the sound. Like the sound was really good. I'm going to say it. I like Star Wars movies.
Bold.
Yeah.
I think for the first time, like I like 70s sci-fi stuff.
This is 80s though.
Yeah, it was 83.
Well,
I'm saying it's a big difference.
70s sci-fi stuff, and this was the first time seeing it on screen, like that opening scene.
Right.
That I was like, oh, this is like that. This reminds me of that. Like, and then so I was kind of seeing it in that way. But then once it gets into Ewok territory, it's not really that anymore. But I did have a new appreciation for just seeing the ships things, getting to see them all huge is pretty cool.
I think the climax of this movie is the best space fight in all of Star Wars, and I've felt that way for a long time. I just love seeing like the fleets going out. I think this is what they wanted the conclusion of Rise of Skywalker to be and kind of missed the mark on. But yeah, I've always really loved like the space battle at the end of this one with Lando Calrissian and the Millennium Falcon and all the aliens and stuff. Yeah, I love this the space fights in this.
Yeah, they say that mushrooms and psychedelics like make you confront the truth or brings out the truth. Okay, so last time I did mushrooms, a few days later, I got a package at the door, and it was a replica of Wicket, the Ewok, and I was like, oh shit, I must have ordered this on mushrooms.
Right.
And watching this for the first time since that, I had the epiphany that I've been lying to myself my entire life, and that I was just trying to like say what the cool kids say about the Ewoks. I fucking love the Ewoks, okay?
Yeah.
Like, to me, I felt that some of their performances were perhaps better than a lot of the human performances in this, because like, I don't know, like Mark Hamill, like for some reason in this movie, I mean, he's always kind of been weird with his delivery, but like it really stuck out for me. I was like, wow, this delivery is just not that good. But meanwhile, my man Wicket was just killing it. So I don't know. I think it was cool, like just like authentically loving the Ewoks, and like you said, like not giving a shit about it. Like, yeah, I fucking love the Ewoks. I had fun watching the Ewoks.
Right.
So I don't know. Shout out Ewoks.
I think this time around, I was like, I mean, my favorite thing about Star Wars in general is like, here's some crazy alien creatures, learn their byways, like figure out what's going on with them, and we're off to the next planet, you know?
Oh, that's another cool thing about watching this all these years later is I realized watching this, I know every character's, like even like the background characters, I know their names. You know, I was like, how do I know that? And it's just years of just like reading, you know, Star Wars stuff and just geeking out about it. So it was nice, like to revisit it after all the years and just like go, wow.
You know, Ewok names besides Wicket?
Yeah, Logray. You got Niset, which is the little baby one, or no, Nippet. Is the little one, but then there's Niset, which is like it's one of the female Ewoks. I mentioned Logray, Chief Chirpa.
Something no one's gonna tell you about the Ewoks.
Yes,
they're horrible looking.
They got a monster.
Don't look at their faces. Yeah. They're awful.
Yeah, like Chief Chirpa, especially.
Their eyes are scary.
All chewed up.
Their mouth is weird.
Well, hold on. You're taking your bias from that. What was that Ewok movie? The Ewok Adventure.
Oh no, that was good.
No, they look horrific in that, and I think you're taking their.
No, think about a picture an Ewok face. Like the eye is like mostly black,
of course,
but then there's like a weird like yellow ring around it, and their teeth are all crazy.
So you stare into the Ewoks.
Yeah, don't look at their faces.
But yeah, so I love Star Wars for like just showing me different worlds, showing me different creatures, and I appreciate like being in the Ewok world, learning their kind of cultural stuff, how the people get accepted in the tribe. Like, love all that stuff. I will say, I noticed this time around how maybe it's the big screen or what it is, but it is so goofy seeing them in combat. Like,
I loved it though.
You see these. It's like, I mean, you know, I'm not a suspension of disbelief, all that kind of thing. But it's so funny to see these stormtroopers like all armored up, full white, you know, faceless, helmeted like terrors running around with, laser blasters, and like a group of them will have rocks thrown at them by 3 foot tall woodland creatures. Just be like, oh my God, I can't go on. Like fumbling and dropping, like, wait, they're wearing armor. Like, you know, again, you have to, and it looked like, you know, there's times when they're wrestling. They cut it well. You know, it's obviously a well done movie and everything. So it's not like, you know, oh shoot, Ghoulies, where it's like a puppet touches someone, or like Gremlins kind of too, where they're just like holding the puppet in their arms, like shifting their body around, like, oh no, I'm being attacked by the puppet. It's not that level, but it is. The combat gets a little bit goofy.
Hey, but they got the ATST getting crushed by the logs.
Totally. That kind of stuff. Yeah. I'm all for the hand-to-hand combat, or like,
you know, maybe they're like bears. They kind of look like bears.
Inner strength.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they're super strong. Also, I think they're making a Gremlins cartoon.
There wasn't one already?
Oh, I don't know, but
it seems like something that would be a terrible Saturday morning cartoon that I grew up watching.
I
but
would like to see that.
Yes. The combat stuff I think misses a little. Maybe that's where some of the like Ewok suck attitude comes from, because they don't have like badass moments. And George Lucas has kind of said they're like, you know, the Viet Cong, like they're on their territory, they're fighting, they're the underdogs. And like that kind of element, I think I was paying attention to this time, and it's cool to see, especially them using the environment against the people and everything.
And they're chaotic, you know, like the one just hops on the speeder bike, right? And just like, I've never been on this thing before, but here
menaces.
We go.
Yeah, I'd say we're generally a pro Ewok household, except for
I like that movie.
You like Return of the Jedi? Or
no, the
Ewok
movie?
Yeah.
What's it called? Why can't we come? It's like Terror at Wicked Mountain or something like that.
Yeah, it's a weird one.
There's that whole animated series too. You know, they got
there's droids and the Ewoks.
You can go deep with Ewoks if you want. I'm probably not going to go deep with them.
Isn't it kind of weird they don't show up in like the newer movies, like at all? Even like the Chewbacca's show up at the prequels, you know, and you see Wookiees and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, Chrysanthemum, I think, is that giant Wookiee.
Bro, we got like speaking roles from Ugnaughts and Mandalorian.
Yeah,
for
real.
And those little creepy guys in the tree.
Oh, Salacious Crumbs. Yeah, I don't think they're called that, but yeah, there's like a
maybe
lot of.
Maybe they're sitting on something.
Yeah, and in all fairness, we haven't really been to Endor, and I don't really see the Ewoks getting off Endor. But I mean, the way as paper thin as Star Wars has been lately to come up with ideas, you'd think like, I control a pack of Ewoks, and then he
You
gets
think they're
beaten
gonna
up
make
at the end.
a gritty Ewok thing, like Andor?
You just think it would show up at some point. But speaking of newer movies, I think my favorite film of the Disney batch of Star Wars movies is The Last Jedi, and I'm tired of pretending that it isn't. And one of the funny things about like the discourse surrounding that movie was like Luke would never throw his lightsaber away like that, because I thought that was one of the most clever parts of that new movie. Because at first the Force Awakens, Rey's holding out the lightsaber to a hermit, Luke Skywalker, and it ends with him just looking at it and credits, and you're like, oh, what's gonna happen next? Next movie starts, same scene, holding out the lightsaber. He takes the lightsaber, tosses it over his shoulder, and that's like kind of foreshadowing a lot of the themes of the movie, of which the movie has themes, which is something you don't often see in Star Wars movies, is themes. So I think it's kind of a well-crafted film in that regard. But people are like, oh, Luke Skywalker would never throw his lightsaber like that. And I'm watching this movie now. They're in the throne room, right? And he's fighting Vader, and like he's got Vader on the ropes. He's gonna kill him, and Palpatine's like, "Yes, kill him. I like it when you kill him." Right? Takes the lightsaber. He's like, fuck this. Tosses the lightsaber at him.
Damn,
I'm like,
dude.
what? All these complaints about the lightsaber getting tossed, and it never even occurred to me that this movie I've seen a million times. He tosses the lightsaber. He doesn't care. It's just the whole point of the Last Jedi movie is that the ceremonial stuff.
God damn, let's go online and find some dudes that we could fucking argue with.
Well, let me tell you, they're out there. There's no choice. In all fairness, just saying the phrase "The Last Jedi" in the movie, they might come to us.
Yeah, exactly.
Overall, I had a good time. Of course, I'm shitty about all the changes they made to it because I have to be, and because they're shitty. I don't know.
What do you think about the midnight movie? I mean, it was kind of rough getting out at 2:30 in the morning or so, but like the attendance was good. I think you bring back some classics at midnight. Yeah,
I don't know why that doesn't. Well, I guess it does happen a lot. Have you seen like the schedule coming up?
No.
So much Indiana Jones.
Oh,
so much random ass movies. Not at midnight though. At 7 p.m. at a reasonable time.
Right.
So we're seeing a lot of older movies come back, which I think is a great trend in general. But
we saw Mario at midnight.
Yeah.
Yes, we did.
There was a ton of people.
Yeah, I did. I think I don't like being at the movies all late. I'll be honest. I know it's like a cool thing to do and say, and
it's a novelty. Yeah.
If I'm real, when I get out of the theater and it's like past midnight, in any regard, I'm kind of like, I'm thrown off a little bit. But
something this big,
of course,
a natural excitement.
I'm saying I won't do it. And it's not like this was the only showing.
No,
we chose to go at midnight because we wanted to be around a bunch of freaks and weirdos.
Yeah.
And the freaks and weirdos weren't even freaking weirdo-y. They were just watching the movie. So jokes on us, I guess.
No, I prefer that.
You prefer
just people who wanted to see it because they really
That's
like it.
That's a good call.
Yeah. I mean, even to say freaks and weirdos, let's just say like hardcore fans, pure enthusiasts, not people who are accidentally like, oh, Timmy's never seen a Star Wars and he likes Star Wars, so we'll drag the whole family there, and half of us don't want to be here, and one kid does, and that kid's losing interest. It's like
it was cool, and it's like for this movie and the crowd that I would expect, the Avengers one where they get snapped. That was probably a midnight or whenever. No, they're not even midnight. They're like 9 p.m. on Thursday or whatever. But an early showing of that, you end up getting the performative fandom.
Yes.
There you go.
Which is annoying. So I was glad, and this is exactly the people that I was hoping would be there, and they were.
I had a buddy that went and saw it today, and I my first thought, and I feel so bad for this, was old news. It's like, what? Yeah, the whole movie's old news.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it was like I talked to like some Star Wars fans at the shop, and I was like, "Are you going to see Jedi?" They're like, "What do you mean?" Like, it's out in theaters. Yeah. Really? This is, like real fan people. And so I don't know. I don't know if it has like quite the buzz. I am told that I saw this as an infant in 83, and I saw it in 1997. I saw it in 2023, and I'll probably see it in 2033. It'll keep going, and it'll keep. I'll keep watching this movie. Justine, you weren't indoctrinated with this stuff like maybe me and Brent were.
No.
And to an extent, Dylan. Dylan, you're here, right?
Huh?
From the cage.
Yeah, I'm speaking outside.
Were you groomed to be a Star Wars fan?
Yeah, I had the trilogy on VHS.
So you're stuck being a fan of these movies.
Somewhat to an extent. Like I like the movies, and I've seen some of the shows, but like I never really like ventured out from.
You're not reading books and stuff.
I guess I played all the Battlefronts. Does that count?
That's more than I have. But yeah, so you have to get it to him when you're young. That's why I'm fascinated with Justine's story, because she wasn't raised around Star Wars.
I mean, like, I was raised around Star Wars.
Right, but
you
weren't in the trenches.
No,
with Star Wars.
Star Wars was there.
Yeah, but you never.
Yeah, but I don't remember even watching or being able to sit through watching them before. I really only started being into it after Force Awakens.
Yeah.
Which I loved. And then I was like, all right. And then, yeah, these are a different kind of movie, but I like them too. I do like the new stuff because some of it is good.
Right. Like Obi-Wan.
They all just have kind of a different feel. And I like that you kind of get different aspects of the whole universe that they made. I think that's cool. And I like that they've expanded it. It's so interesting to me that you can have something that starts as such a small, not small, but a small story.
Right.
And then it's become this crazy thing where you have to learn everything about every single person and every character you've ever seen in these movies. But I think that's kind of neat that different people can get involved, who also care about it and kind of like add all this stuff onto it. So that's kind of fascinating to me.
Yeah, I feel like someone who was like raised in the Catholic Church or something, you see like some college kids show up to your church, you're like, oh, we got some new ones. Like, you're here for what reason? Oh, we're just checking it out. Cool. Well, let me know if I can show you anything, because it's like, it's easy to feel like it's like a very lame old-timey fandom or whatever, because it kind of is. And especially like as corporatized as it's become, it's like hard to really like be like, nah, fuck that if you're not there for everything. And there's this gross schism in it where it's like, no, I'm an old school fan, bro. Revenge of the Sith, dog. That's where I get like, it's messed up how fractured the fandom has become. But I don't know. I'm still dyed in the wool with this shit. So yeah, like I said, I'll go watch all these movies as they come out. I wish they made more movies. The TV shows are fine, but I like Star Wars movies.
Was it the Solo response that threw everything off? Because we were supposed to get one every year.
Yeah, I think it was Force Awakens, Rogue One, which is stellar, and kind of like cult status over time, like has had legs in ways that a lot of the other stuff hasn't. Yeah. And then Last Jedi, and people shit on the Last Jedi.
That's right.
And speaking of like to wrap everything up here, going back to my original thing of like hearing everything that everyone's saying about Beau is Afraid, right? Because I like that movie a lot. I loved Last Jedi, and I was like so happy that I saw that movie before I read any reviews or like heard people talking about it, because I walked out of that theater like, that's amazing. This is a complete like retooling of it. Like the Last Jedi they had to give to us to kind of like course correct from the prequels in terms of tone and like going back to practical effects, but they had to give us the most Star Wars movie possible. But now that they got that out of the way, then we get this movie, which is all about defying expectations. And it's not going to focus on Luke Skywalker and all the old trilogy stuff. Like, yeah, the floating Leia stuff was silly, but whatever. They did the work. They're getting to a point where we're telling new stories. This is going to be great. And then everyone hated it. And they said, we want old stories. And then they gave us Solo. And they said, not that old story. Like, okay. The dead speak. Palpatine, remember him? He's back. And then people are like, we hate this too. And I was like, yeah, I hate this because you didn't do this. You had showed these two kids at the end of the last movie. You showed the most downtrodden of the universe. They're the people who the Force is strongest with. It's not tied to the Jedi or the midichlorian or any kind of thing. It's more powerful than that, as someone explained. And we're undoing all of that. We're just going to Control Z that whole thing because, a lot of people didn't like it. Okay, so we're just going to go with what people like. And then it was in this kind of like everyone hates Star Wars stuff right now because they over Star Wars it. Too much Star Wars. And they're like, okay, fine. We'll just put this little show out. It'll have a baby Yoda in it and a Mandalorian guy, and no one will think anything. And we can, quietly, whoa. You didn't tell me there was baby Yodas. We like Star Wars again. Okay, TV shows. Go. Yeah. No, not all these TV shows. Right. I hate these. So I don't fucking know. They don't fucking know. No one fucking knows what Star Wars stuff is. I guess Solo, they did that like DCEU
It didn't make
thing
enough
where it's
billions.
like exactly, and people aren't really talking about Childish Gambino's Lando performance or anything like that. Yeah. So I think it just fizzled. But I'm totally fine with those kind of movies, like short, not like huge space operas, but just like
Star Wars story.
Hey, we got to do some missions. Like I'm down for that shit and like have it be kind of forgettable, but I don't think they're down to not make all the money they possibly could and like sell toys and merch and stuff. And now they're in this kind of like gray zone, but
maybe some of it had to do with needing to sell Disney Plus as a
service,
So it's like they shifted the focus to creating series.
Sure. And I heard there's going to be a new movie, like a Ray-centric movie. And for the record, I thought Daisy Ridley.
I like her a lot.
I loved her portrayal of that character. Mm-hmm. Again, to kind of, I think where they were going with the story of like, hey, people who have kind of been shit on and orphaned and forgotten and left in the dust, they're the people. And I thought she did such a good job portraying like a kind of traumatized character and like everything about that character worked for me until they stopped writing that character. And that's the only thing I'll really shit on is The Rise of Skywalker was a real hot mess of a movie, which I don't think anyone's pushing back on. But that was the only thing I've really like disliked. And even then, maybe I could watch it again and find some okay things with it.
Yeah, I think if you did a rewatch, it wouldn't be as bad because what was going on in real time was there were so many theories that were interesting that you wanted to see whether they're true or not going into it. And then just like they went so far around it where you're like, oh, because like you said, it's like just Control-Z.
Yeah. So I don't know. Hopefully more movies. You know who likes movies is this group of people right here. And we're going to watch some more. Dylan, why don't you tell people about movies we're going to watch next?
Unlimited.
Hey everybody, thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Regal Movie Masters Unlimited. This week should be a lighter amount. We've got the upcoming and anticipated new Marvel Cinematic Universe movie, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, featuring Star-Lord and Creed. We also got Love Again, that features new music from Celine Dion. I mean, it's on the poster. There might be more, but who knows? Sometimes we don't. Anyways, everybody, see you at the movies. Bye.